Hey there, Prepper Talk Nation. Holy crud. How's it going? Hope you guys are all ready for a interesting ride, shall we say. Guys, welcome to Prepper Talk Radio. We got Scott, Shane, and Paris in the house. How's everybody doing today?
Good as always.
Good.
Awesome. Well, we're going to have an interesting show today. We're going to be diving into a lot of weird, like take the blinders off, pay attention to what's going on in the world. We're going to be cracking open that can of, or that Pandora's box, if you will. Giving you a peek behind the scenes. The Wizard, we're going to expose everything behind the curtain so you know what's going on. It's going to be interesting, but if you want to support the show, here's what you got to do. You got to check out this amazing little side hustle we found. Guys, if you want to make money work for you before all the money in the world is gone, right? You need a side hustle that works better than you do. And I've made over $2,000 very, very part-time with this just in the last few months. Go to preppertalkradio.com/good life. You can thank me later. We have a coaching and mentoring program that goes with it that we partnered with. And it's the cleanest, healthiest nutritional supplements I've ever had. And my health is way better because of it. So I'm grateful that we found this. But as good as that is, it's not as good as this show is going to be. So buckle up, stay here with us. We're going to dive into some seriously weird stuff. And we have a list of over 113, I think, items now.
Well, I'm up to 130 now.
Oh, you went back to work after
yeah, kind of had to. And it's not done yet either.
Oh.
So I guess what we're talking about today, this of course is my idea, and I didn't mention it in one of our last shows, maybe the last live, where I was sitting down just writing a list of all the ways that we're screwed. The things that have, what's the right way to put it? Have power over us that we can't really do much about directly, but we can indirectly for ourselves in our own lives, right? But things that are working against us, typically pretty big things, is what I've got on my list here. And I would think most of you, or let me say many of you who are regulars, are probably aware of most of these things. And we're not going to have time to go through over the entire list, right? We've each just gone through my list and picked out a few things that, for me, hot topics that are hot today, right now, that are in the news that I'm hearing about all the time, and that are really, I guess, more personal to me as well, that I want to make sure to share and to raise a warning voice and say danger, Will Robinson, these things which may seem copacetic on the surface, but are not. Right. So that's where things get dangerous, when you don't see the danger. Right. And so part of my role as, I guess, a bigger brother, you could say, I'm one of the older brothers. We're five brothers. And when we go out treasure hunting or adventuring or caving or whatever, I'm the safety guy. And so that's the role I've put on myself. First in, last out. And so that's where it comes from, where I'm coming from, so you guys understand.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because when you said we're five brothers, I was like, when you started talking brothers, I was like, oh, he's talking to us. And then he's like, five
plus
brothers.
Plus you guys.
We're
Five in my
brother.
family, plus
his,
you guys.
His blood brothers, not his podcast
Exactly.
brothers. And then you started talking safety, and I started thinking, dude, my little brother is the rigging expert in our family. He is. But he's also the craziest one. Like he will do the most dangerous stuff the safest possible way. Like, he really eliminate as much risk as possible, but still he'll be like 10,000 feet below us, sharp rocks at the bottom. Cool, let's go. Right? He'll do it.
But we're going over the waterfall. Yep.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's my little brother. But like, as we're looking at the world and as we're seeing these, and as I look through your list and as I've thought about this, like, I did something to prepare myself. I did some research. Besides just reading, studying, rehashing the history, I did some research. I've watched Terminator 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm halfway through number 5. Matching it with our current timelines. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not matching it. But like, thinking about everything in the media that's like hushing our minds so that all this stuff trickles in and feels normal, right? The new normal now.
Yep.
I'm like looking at this. I'm like, whoa, that's there. That was they've been planning this for 30 years. Oh, that's there. They've been planning this one for 80 years. Oh, that's there. They've been planning this one for hundreds of years, right? And it's like I'm a big like education guy. Before I moved to Utah, started real estate and did PrepperCon, and then I'll do this and do the side hustle business. Like I was a college administrator for a decade. I've got a bachelor's. I've got a master's in business administration. I'm like, I geek out. I wanted to be a school teacher, but like I looked at the system and I'm like, the system's broken. This was back in 2002. I was like, we're so screwed. Like this is all broken. And I read a book called The Dumbing Down of America. And I talked about it before, but like, dude, like
it's not just broken, bro. It's on purpose built. Skiwampus. It's like a Potemkin village, you know, this facade of this is what everybody here. Look at this, and behind that facade, it's like the evil overlords.
Well, what's interesting too is like they keep presenting data saying, "Look how good we're doing," but they skew the statistics and pull up irrelevant data to show you, "Oh, look how good this is." Right? It's data that actually doesn't point to anything. It's just garbage. It's not even truth, not even light. It's just garbage. And and that's just a teeny tiny bit of what we're going to talk about today. You guys are over here smiling. I got to turn the chat back on over here so I can see this.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like Paris is the younger brother we all look after. Hey, somebody's got to look after me. Why not? But I was just gonna say, you talked about the different statistics that have come out. I mean, they just had the Fed just Jerome Powell just came out and talked about whether or not they were going to lower the rate or increase the rate, and they're holding steady. But the day after, the unemployment rates came out, and they were abysmal. They were absolutely ridiculous. And the day before, they're like, "Oh yeah, everything looks great, everything's wonderful, everything's great," and then the real numbers come out, and frankly, I say real numbers in quotes. My screen is not big enough to do the whole thing. The real numbers come out the next day on August 1st, and it's like tens of thousands of jobs created less than what they thought were supposed to be created. And now there's a 94% chance that they're going to lower the rate. And Trump fires the Department of Labor's chief guy. And so that when the numbers really come out, they're like, dude, why aren't you lowering the rate? Well, there's the whole thing with inflation. If they lower the rate, that could affect inflation, but the jobs came out, so they need to lower it. But if they do, then they might. Anyways, there's a whole thing. And part of the whole balancing act that they talk about, I think, is part of their game. Like, do we really need to have a balancing act? We just lower the rate and just go for it. Like, I don't, it's just, I understand that there's consequences to every action, but at the same time, it's like these guys are playing games with us.
Yeah, so I guess the items on the list that you guys picked would have been education system. So here's a quick glimpse at my enormous list here. Education system, and what would you throw a title or a tab on your
So I picked
debt.
Paris. Sorry, little brother of all of us that we have to protect. Paris, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, right, just with that comment that I just made, the economic system and the whole political. It's not because the job market, inflation, the Fed, that's not like the stock market. It will eventually trickle down to the stock market if we're not careful with that. So I don't know what mine would be specifically on that, but it's definitely
everything is made up. Everything is fake.
Yeah,
that's one of the things on my list. It's fake, and that's what Trump came out and said. Is this? Oh, these are fake numbers. This is and I think they're more correct than fake, and so you just can't trust anything that's coming out there. I read a report
selling it.
What's that?
He's so good at selling it.
Of course,
fake news, fake numbers. You're fake, canceled. Right? It's just what is he? He's a glorified salesman. Like he's a realtor. What's their job? To sell you a lipstick covered pig.
The art of the deal.
The art of the deal. Like keep going.
Oh, okay. So again, part of my huge list, I picked 5 things that are I think we all really need to be aware of right now and avoid them like the plague. And of course, part of this is some of my opinion. Like, for example, stable coins, right? CBDC stable coins. There are people who are making money at it. Yeah, no doubt. Personally, I won't touch them, right? I mean, it's a Trojan horse is really what it is, and what I see. And we can go into detail, but then I think maybe what we should do is just try and go through as many as possible and touch on them lightly, so that it sparks your interest, people's interest, and they say, well, why is Shane concerned about stablecoins? Why is he concerned about CBDCs? I could talk, all day about that. I know you don't want to hear that. So hopefully you'll see what we're talking about, and then start to look down the rabbit hole for yourselves. But yeah, essentially stablecoins. I won't touch them. I mean, if it comes down to it, and the system, the legislation that was set up is essentially, to me, it seems like, eventually the company Shane works for is going to pay him in his company coins, which will be backed by US dollars, right? He's got to go buy US treasuries to back those. And then who knows how they're going to be used, right? It's like the company store, right? So I've got to prepare and set myself up so that I can say no if and when that time comes.
So it's interesting you brought up that the company's coin, the company store. Doesn't that sound just like the Industrial Revolution? When there was nothing you could buy except for what was available in the company store, the miners would come out of the mine. They'd be buried all day.
They don't even get paid. Yeah, they just got credits.
They'd come out and they'd be given a piece of paper, and then their wife would go to the little convenience store that was owned by the mine, and prices would have gone up because their sales didn't go as much as they wanted to, or their coal didn't sell for as much as they wanted to. And you don't actually own the home that you live in. You're a tenant, and you get to live there discounted because you work there. And if the husband dies, guess who's evicted? The wife and kids, right? Like, doesn't that sound exactly like what they're going to do with 15-minute cities?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the number one item I threw on my list.
Like, I looked at all of your things, and I was like going through it, and I'm like, dude, 15-minute cities, Fort Knox, AI, cognitive diminishment, fraud,
yep.
Right? Surveillance. So 22, 23, surveillance, 24, digital ID, 57, predatory lending, 58, student loans, 64, educational system. Like, all of these, everything, the craziest thing is everything on your list interconnects.
And that's absolutely true. And, I've been seeing, of course, Mike and Field Tac commented here about AI. It's being hyped as the greatest thing ever. It's going to create so much wealth we won't know what to do with it. But it is literally, like Mike says, and Phil Tyke, it's going to be our downfall. It's one of my biggest concerns. What is the first results of AI right now? It's all these fake videos, fake contents. It's all these bots that, right now you can kind of tell. Okay, yeah, that's fake. That's AI. I can tell. Or some are really blatant, obviously. But shortly, it won't be. And in a lot of aspects, it is impossible to distinguish what the truth is and what's real and what's fake. And so I just am extremely concerned about AI, and I have never touched it. I am doing my best to not even ask it a question.
Well, what's interesting is that I was, one of the things that I chose was, I just been seeing a lot of things on my feed about different natural disasters all over the world. So that was one thing that was one of the topics I chose. But related to AI, I actually saw when the tsunami warning came through and was on Hawaii and then the west coast of the United States and Alaska a little bit. There was somebody that created an AI wave that hit like Santa Monica, or I can't remember where it was. That. And I was like, I showed my wife, I'm like, look, what the heck is happening down to, and then all of a sudden it was like, it was on Twitter. And what's cool about Twitter is that you can actually ask Grok, I guess Grok is the AI. And so you reply and say, at Grok, is this real? And Grok says, no, this is not real. This is an AI generated video. And I was like, it looked like a real wave taken out of, some stuff. And so it's like, what, we can't even trust with the pictures, videos, forget about it. Like we're all we're going to have an underground communication network where we're like, hey guys, did this really happen in your area? No, that didn't really happen. Okay, thanks. Let's keep everybody on the know.
Well, what I can already start to see is that I think very quickly it'll turn back to, of course, everything's going to be run by AI. I mean, that's what the way they're setting it up, but it'll quickly turn back to where the things that are real will be a premium, right? They will be the most valued, because eventually, and I think very quickly, people won't know how to do anything. They're letting AI answer all their questions. They don't even thinking for themselves. And I think that's really the point of AI, or one of the purposes of AI is and there are groups who are working on the super intelligence so they can worship it, and so they can make all their important decisions.
Well, we think of that and we actually laugh. We're like, oh, worshiping an AI. But like, when you use AI, you're asking AI to help you. How is that any different than praying to God?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You're asking some device to give you the answers, right? We're so programmed that we go to Google to search for things first, right? And now the world's being taught to go to Google AI or Gronk or Alexa or like whatever device to talk to them. Like my niece and nephew, their house, they have Alexa, and Alexa listens all the time. Like I won't allow that stuff in our house. I don't allow any listening devices in our house, but I'm like, our phones are listening all the time and I don't know how to turn those off. Right. Maybe I'm going to have to set up
put them in a
bag Faraday and everything else. Like just completely deaden them. But I'm like, I want to go back to a regular landline for all phone use. Like I just want to go back.
For
me. Do they even have those anymore?
I don't think it's even available. So you have to go fiber optic or something.
Nowadays you have to go pretty much fiber optic, and depending on where you live, but there are areas where they have old phone lines where you can connect that way. But I'm like, at least that way you can unplug it and how's it listen, right?
Well, I was listening to a guy talking about the medical ramifications of all this, and he was talking about studies have been showing that the hippocampus, which is our ability to process memory, remember things, and think critically, the hippocampus is shrinking, and it's really affecting our ability to do things that we used to be able to do. For example, find our way without GPS or remember phone numbers. Yep. Like I remember I used to have 10, 15 phone numbers memorized. Now I barely have my own phone number memorized, and so it's that kind of capacity is, there's guys that you could go talk to a guy who has the story. He could tell you a story for, I think Jordan Peterson actually talked about the guy who created that totem pole thing for him and do you remember that story that he talked about? Anyways, he talked about this guy who he was illiterate, but he could tell you stories about the history of his people back hundreds of years, and he memorized and had all this in his memory. Well, today, we don't even remember what we had for dinner yesterday, practically, let alone hundreds of years of cultural history. And my kids were talking, we were joking about how one of these influencers, they were asking questions about the average person on the street. Do you know what the capital of the country is, or how many countries are there, how many continents are there? And they didn't have a clue. These were college aged kids off the street that were asked these questions, and none of them had any real education about what was really going on in the world. And it's like, what is going on with that's literally the dumbing down of America.
Yeah, well, another aspect to that is I had on the list is the dead internet. If you heard of the dead internet theory, it's supposed that by like 2016, 2017, the internet was already what's the right word? So crowded with algorithms and just marketing and bots and such that you couldn't really get any real information, right? Before that, internet started about in 93 and forward. There was just a plethora of things you could find. And now it's all algorithms, right? You're fed what they want you to see. And so that's why it's considered a dead internet, is you're just not going to get, truth. I mean, when it comes down to it, that's really what I see. You're just not going to get it. So the internet was an amazing thing for a long time. And now it's just a tool. just like
Yeah.
like everything else.
We've been doing.
Listen to this. So John McCarthy, founder of AI, said that back in 2009 that AI will technologically lobotomize humans within 2 generations. And it's funny because listening to is it the guy that used to do Dirty Jobs, Mike Rowe, listening to him speak all over the world, mostly all over America, he's always talking about how the whole world's like pushing cybersecurity, pushing coding and all these other things. And it's like those jobs are being replaced by AI right now. Right? Get into physical trades, right?
Yeah.
I was watching a video just the other day, and they were talking about the problem with they call them digital bot banks. I think that was what they called them, but basically I'll have to try to find it again. But basically they had all of these phones. They'd set all these phones in these little banks, and they'd plug each phone into this computer. Then the computer would use the interface with all the phones to follow, and share specific content online. And they showed you how one of the banks set up, and then they zoomed out to show what the room looked like. There were over 3,000 banks of phones. Each bank of phones was like 20 phones.
Yeah.
And I'm
well, it's a fact that over 50% of the internet content right now, the internet interactivity is bots.
Yeah.
And within a few years, it'll be, I think by 30 or 2030, it'll be over 90%. So
Joseph is like, humans are already lobotomized.
Nice. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
There are definitely some specimens to prove that point.
Well, and another thing on my list, changing the topic, that is help to lobotomize people are the pharmaceuticals.
Oh yeah.
Right. That's top on my list because I see it every day. I mean, it's these pharmaceutical companies, and this is where we got to be really careful because if we, that's one of the first things we get hit with is medical misinformation, right? That's
just don't talk about lemons.
Right. So lemon. Right. So
yeah, dude, we're gonna get canceled, bro, for saying that.
Hey, that's all right. I'm good with that. Anyway, they are mind altering, right? They are I'm searching for the right words here, right? It's just all for profit. It's they're drugs. They are not medicine, right? Food is medicine. Herbs are medicine. They are drugs, and they are made for an agenda. That's really what it comes down to. Is and I could keep going on forever, but I'm really trying to be very careful with my words.
Well, that's a huge one. That pharmakia. That pharmaceutical comes from the word pharmakia, which is Greek for sorcery, and so that's where it boils down to is the old ancient apothecaries and the witchcraft that goes into that kind of stuff. So I don't want to get too weirded out for those who may not have gone down the rabbit hole as far as others of us, but there's some definite reasons. And one of the, Scott, I'm going to give it to you, but I definitely want to, one of the questions that one of the topics I picked was robotics. So I want to kind of go back to that after Scott's comment. So
no, go ahead.
So one of my buddies, he does a YouTube channel in finance and investing. And he and I talk as well. And he was talking to me about how he's really excited about investing in Amazon. And I was like, tell me a little bit about what's going on. And I watched one of his videos and then we talked over the phone. And he's like, bro, think about it. Every one of their warehouses is going to have a robot working in there instead of human beings. They don't have to pay overtime. They don't have to pay healthcare. They don't have to pay any of those things. He says, think about, and of course he's thinking it as an investor, think about all of the money they're going to be making and the profits that they're going to have over the next several years as they roll out all these robots. And he's like, yeah, some of the robots fall down and do weird stuff. And some robots actually are, there's another company apparently that was their advertisement was for robots, but somebody did some research and found that it was actually remote controlled by somebody. So it wasn't an autonomous robot. But he says, but Amazon is leading the way on autonomous robots. And they have actually got, he was telling me about another company, I think it was Amazon as well. And they have like 250,000 Uber kind of rides. I don't know what the name of their company is, but they pick people up and they drive them to their location, all completely robotically. And he says, if once Amazon perfects the robotic industry and they get all their robots going in their warehouses, their profits are gonna really cruise. And I'm just like, yeah, bro, but you're not thinking about the other side of this. All the people that are getting laid off, the job problems. I mean, yeah, Amazon might have some great profits, but shoot, that's going to affect the economy in a really big way. I don't know how many people work for Amazon, but imagine if they laid off half their workforce. And there's another company recently that just laid off a bunch of people. But this whole AI and robotics things, like it's scary, dude.
So my wife was she was in New York. Now she's in LA, and for business trip. And what's interesting is their food delivery was a little robot. A robot came and delivered food to where they were, and they had to go outside and meet it, punch in their code. It opened up, and they grabbed their groceries. Yeah, LA, right? Same thing's happening in New York. Autonomous drones, whether they're on land or sea or whatever, where like in the air, who knows what all is going on. And what we're actually seeing, right, is just a tip of it, depending on where you live. And what is that promoting? Also, it's promoting 15-minute cities. Oh, convenience. You're going to have everything you need right here. Oh, you lost your job? That's okay. You can come move into the city. We'll provide a job for you, or we'll provide an income for you. You just have to subscribe to all of our services, right? By being part of the city. And it's sneaky because what's happening with our younger generations? That's all they're growing up with.
Yeah.
So this is the cool new norm, right? They've been lobotomized. They're just like, well, this is what they're going to do for us. Let's do it. And go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, well, think of when probably at least 30 years ago when they were talking about gene editing and when the era of the sheep cloning started up, and how much controversy there was about that, right? About manipulating human engineering is really what it is. Like CRISPR, and now it's like nobody talks about it. It's all the norm, and it's perfectly acceptable. I mean, not to everybody, obviously, but it's like no big deal. It's become the norm, and that's kind of what this list is. All these things have been forced upon us, and we have to accept them, and they're as if they're just normal. So along those same lines, robotics, and I'm talking too much with my hands here, so I'll calm down a little bit. But transhumanism, right? Cybernetics, biodigital convergence. I mean, that's what Neuralink is, and there's more than just Neuralink out there. The powers that be, those who have the money, those who have the control, that's what the word they means, right? That's who they are. Those who can force their will on us because of their money and their power, their influence, their agenda, are wanting to perfect humanity and fix all our problems, which is, as antichrist, it's anti-God, it's anti-humanity is what it is. It's pure evil. But the way they advertise it, the way they promote it is, we can imagine someone who's handicapped. It can help them.
Yep.
And that's the way it gets us in the feels, right? So, well, this person can now, with their mind, can operate the lights in the house and the computer and browsing and it can now, do more to take care of himself. So everybody's not having to do that, right? That's how it's being promoted, but very dangerous. Again, slippery slope.
Yeah.
Which most of these items are slippery slope items.
And it's interesting how it all ties together, right? Because like AI, robotics, all these automations that completely eliminate the need of human interactions. It reduces, quote, human error. It allows someone in a disability situation, allows them to feel more, quote, human, right? Because it's an artificial connection. What's interesting is like, when is the last time education taught critical thinking?
Right.
1800s, who knows?
It wasn't taught in the last since 19. I think it was 1947 is when it was pulled out of educational systems.
I know
Critical thinking.
I had a
Go ahead.
class. I had a critical thinking class when I was in college, and that was in the.
I'm talking high school.
Oh,
Sorry,
I don't remember.
not non-college.
K-12.
High school and K through 12. Here's what's interesting. In the 1840s, 1830s, 1850s, like education was privatized still. Privatized. It wasn't the state's responsibility. It wasn't the federal responsibility. As soon as it became a state and federal responsibility, guess what happened? Eighth grade, for us, eighth grade is actually 1840s higher education than a college graduate today.
Yep.
Interesting.
That is how far backwards we've gone. And they change the analytics every year. And they change the statuses every year to say, oh, no. We have to make it easier for everybody. The impoverished kids, they need the same, like, we need to level the playing field for everyone, right? So we're going to make it easier for everybody to learn. So our standards have gotten lower. So now the gifted kids or the kids who want to learn more, who are hungry, they're being dumbed down as well. No critical thinking, right? They completely remove creativity and replace it with a rote memorization, facts, statistics, things that they can control, manipulate, and tell you exactly what you need to know. You used to have selection by school, what books you wanted educated. Now it's selection by some committee in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
The schools don't have control anymore. The districts don't have control anymore. And it's all based on where's the money coming from.
And of course, Trump throws out there, or we're going to get rid of the education system. Department of Education, not the education system. That'd be great too. But and then everybody's all, "Yay, Trump! That we need to do that." And what's happened?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Just like Fort Knox. Did we ever hear what happened?
Yep, exactly.
They were going to investigate February and March. That's all they talked about. We're going to go to Fort Knox. We're going to prove whether the gold's there or not. We need to know. And did you ever hear in the news if anything happened? May 25th, they announced in a on one of the smallest news networks out there, just digitally, Trump had the visit completed, all the audit was completed, and there's nothing missing. Everything's accounted for. That's all it said. Didn't say how much, didn't say anything.
Yeah.
That's the whole article.
Yeah, that's a lie. Wait, you're still talking about this? Why are you still talking about this? This is old news. What are you talking about?
And that's what they expect. That's what they hope. They think that if they inundate us with so many different things that they're going to do, that we'll forget about the last thing that they did. I mean, there was a whole thing that came up. Like, what's the best thing that happened to the CEO couple that was having an affair at the Coldplay concert? It was the Sydney Sweeney ad. Yeah. So it's just the next thing to keep us distracted. And after what's after Sydney Sweeney? I don't know. We'll see what happens next, right? To keep us down keep us, in the circus of, hey, you just entertain the masses and have the circus. And I wanted to talk a little bit about transhumanism myself. Actually, it's interesting that you picked that too, Scott, because or Shane, I can't remember which one of you mentioned it, but transhumanism. I was talking to a guy years ago about transhumanism, and I was just like, are you kidding me? How many futuristic videos? I know The Mandalorian had a bunch of scenes where these kids would actually modify themselves to be able to see better, leap, jump better, run faster, lift things. Like, there was a whole thing. And so, like, I get it if you were in the military and you lost a limb because you served and you were, or you had some kind of accident where you lost a limb and they need a prosthetic. But at some point, I feel like people are going to cut their limbs off to get a better prosthetic. And I was talking to this guy years ago. He's like, yeah, I think that's what God wants us to do. And I'm like, God made us perfect the way he made us. Like, but he gave us this technology so we can make ourselves better. Like, I don't think that's what he meant.
I have cousins in that same camp. They're like, oh yeah, my cousin's wife's been getting into it for the last 7 years. She's like, we're going to completely overhaul how our bodies work and think and do, right? And she's all about microchips. She's like, yeah, let's get processors put into our joints, help fix everything, right? And she's like, all about it. And I'm like, Wow.
They're medical miracles, right?
Right.
Medical
But what's funny,
miracles.
you talked about Mandalorian, and you're like, this is relatively a new thing. No. You guys remember the Bionic Woman and the
Oh,
$1 million
yeah,
Man?
the $1 million man, $6 million man, whatever it was.
$6 million Man, right? Back in the day, those were huge TV shows when we were little kids.
Mhm.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Bring
70s
in,
and
starting
80s,
to bring in the cybernetics and the transhumanism and
right?
Yeah.
So it's not something that's new. It's something that's been planned and orchestrated for a long time.
And RoboCop's another perfect example
Yep.
of that.
Yeah. Right. And then why did they go ahead and reboot that again? Like they've rebooted that
Yep.
3 times now.
It's true.
Like all these things keep getting rebooted. Terminator's getting rebooted. Why? To try to normalize things, to try to get us to think
Mhm.
about things more and more and say, yeah, let's do that. Right.
That's right. They have their agenda.
To organize and coordinate what their next strike is on humanity. Right. Because at the end of the day, all of this, what is this for? It's for control.
Yeah.
It's to reduce population, which is on the list.
Yep.
Right. To force us into choosing a work camp. That's what a 15-minute city is. We're choosing what work camp we want. Preppers are all like, don't trust FEMA. Don't go to a FEMA camp, right? How is that any different than a 15-minute city? Forced into a small, tight space, a free city where you have your free apartment, where you have free access to food.
But see, that's also where I've got electrification on the list, EVs are on the list, and those all fit into that 15-minute city agenda, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can control things, they can turn them on and off. If you're using too much energy, get us off of fossil fuels, using the air quotes, which there's no such thing. Again, another thing on the on the long list, but it's really never ending, and of course I could change topics here if you're done there, Scott.
Well, and what's funny is you brought up EV. Like China has like kilometers and kilometers and kilometers, like square kilometers of just EV vehicles sitting around in their dumps because there's no way to dispose of the batteries and the technologies, but no one wants to buy them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The infrastructure doesn't support them. And so they're just sitting there. Right. So what are the cities going to do instead? Well, look what California's doing. They're doing their electric rail. They're super train from San Francisco or whatever
Right.
down to LA. That's just one example. Right. We used to have electric cars in the United States that were sweet back in the 1930s and 40s. Like we had steam engines and then we had electric cars dropped in. We had an electric trolley system here in Salt Lake City that was state of the art, and they took it all out. And not even 100 years later, what do? They put it all back in with new technology that's less efficient, more prone to breakdown, more costly, and it just causes more and more problems. So what are we learning about everything? It's controlled and planned obsolescence of what we're used to and us.
I want to talk about something that I saw this last week that's along the lines of you'll own nothing and be happy.
Mm-hmm.
There was a billboard in Las Vegas, I'm pretty sure it was Las Vegas, that said new homes for rent. Like built, new builds.
Yeah.
My son-in-law, who is an electrician, he's going to get his journeyman license here pretty soon. He's an electrician, and they're doing all kinds of new builds up in northern Utah County, southern Salt Lake County, and they're doing a bunch of neighborhoods where they're putting in all the electrical work for it. And he said that all of those houses that are going in, none of them are going to be sold. They're all going to be rented, and they're all new builds. And so it's like from Vegas to Salt Lake to that's Lehigh. That's kind of the northern Utah County is Silicon Slopes, they call it. So it's a play off Silicon Valley from the San Francisco area, and Silicon Slopes because of the mountains, the slopes get it by. Anyways, the point is that if that's happening in our state, in California, in Nevada, like somewhere in your state, wherever you're listening to this from, I bet you there's something going on similar to that where they've got a bunch of new builds going in that are not for sale. that are just for rent only. And so that to me was that was like a clear sign that they're definitely headed towards you'll own nothing and be happy.
And you'll probably see BlackRock, Blackstone behind those as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and that's what like 90% of the homes or livable units in Salt Lake City, 90% of the construction has been high-rise rentals.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they're along the rail tracks, the electric
I-15 corridor,
up and down the I-15 corridor, and they build those, and then they put in grocery stores near them in walking distance, and everything else within walking distance, so that, and then they don't put in enough parking for you to have more than 2 vehicles per household, and a lot of times more than 1 vehicle per household, because they want you trapped. And what's happening? Everyone's just going along with it. And that's just in Salt Lake City, Utah. Guys, this is happening nationwide. If you go to a major metropolis, watch and see where all the new homes are being built, where all the complexes are. It's high density units in spaces that used to be residential communities, and they're just wiping them out, replacing them, and just gutting our current systems. Things that gave us freedom, the ability to have a garden in our yard. Now you don't even have a yard. Where are you going to grow a garden?
There's condos and townhouses going up like crazy in my city. And my city is a good old boy area, and there's a lot of pushback, but it's still going up.
Right? Because your city council has sold you guys out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening all across the country, all across the world. Like I look back at Shane's list, like what are the other things that are happening? Predatory lending, interest rates are so high, inflation's so high, it's making it impossible to buy a home, right? For so many people. But if you do qualify, you get these loans that are so predatory that you're like, how am I ever going to pay this off?
Mm-hmm.
And
okay,
then,
check this out. This is blowing me away. The guys, Mike and them are telling me check this out. The largest data center in the U.S. is coming to this rural county in Utah, to Fillmore. The largest data center in the U.S. is coming to Fillmore, Utah. Yep. I'm blown away.
Fillmore's out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I was down there yesterday. But that I'm gonna have to look into that. Thanks, guys. That's
What's the biggest thing in Fillmore? It was Maverick.
Well, there's the cheese plant down there,
right? But even that, like, what happened in Eagle Mountain? Eagle Mountain was nothing. Nobody could afford to live there.
Facebook data center.
Facebook has how many data center buildings out there? I think it's 6
and it's going to be bigger than Facebook.
And even the NSA is out there.
NSA is in Lehigh,
Saratoga Springs. Yeah. Well, it's between Lehigh and Eagle Mountain. It's it's on the way. I went out to Eagle Mountain the other day, or Saratoga Springs. Anyways, it was, and I saw the data center up on the hill.
Yep.
Well, and how many people? How much water is the NSA using? They're the largest user of water in the state of Utah.
1 million gallons a day.
Now, think about this in Idaho. Similarly happening, they're opening up these data centers, and they're taking all the water rights from the farmers and the ranchers. People who've been creating food for us for hundreds of years, they're being told one day they have water, the next day, and from then on, they only get 10% of the water they had, or none, and they have to buy back water because all the water's going to strip mining and data centers. Is that normal just to Utah and Idaho? No, it's happening all over. North Carolina, it's happening. It's happening in Georgia. It's happening all over the United States. And why aren't we hearing about it? Because it's being suppressed.
It is.
I'm blown away. It actually says the world's largest data center.
Oh my God. It
says world's largest data center.
And who's going to be the owner of it?
It doesn't say.
BlackRock? Well, here's the other thing too, is that they got to have the electricity. The grid's got to be big enough to be able to provide that. Add definitely water and other resources, but what kind of grid are they going to have to put in to be able? There's no way a solar farm can feed that. There's no way a traditional even a traditional substation could feed that. That's got to have a nuclear SMR kind of a thing going on. That's like as far as I'm concerned.
I'm blown away. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, last thing I wanted to talk about is debt.
Perfect, because that goes right into line with the predatory lending where we just were in student loans.
Yeah, it's blowing up. I mean, there's nothing changing. Individual family debt, commercial, business, corporate, government, it's all blowing up. It's not getting any better. There's nothing changing. There's no balanced budgets. There's no responsibility. There's predatory lenders out there. That's on my list. In addition to just debt, all these buy now, pay later options, which don't report to credit score. I think they're going to start to now, but it is out of control, and it's like I said, it's predatory. It is deceiving. It's preying on people's emotions, and this world is a consumeristic. I could go on with the
well, here's an interesting thing.
It's mind-boggling.
Trump actually talked about this a little while ago. He talked about the student debt issue, right? All these private schools and their lobbyists push the federal government to up the student loan limits and up all these things, and also change how interest is done. Like when I went to college, I was supposed to have been allowed to be in state because I lived here long enough, and then they changed the rules the week before I was able to sign up for school. So I was no longer grandfathered, and so I was considered out of state, even though I lived here long enough to qualify, and then all of a sudden I didn't. What's interesting is it should have cost me $24,000 to get my degree. It cost me $64,000 to get my degree. And by the time I paid back my student loans, yes, I finally paid those off 3 years ago. I've been done with college since 2008. I paid those off 3 years ago. I paid more than $84,000 in student loans.
Wow.
Now think about how much school is today.
Yeah.
These kids that are going into college and their parents have taken out second mortgages, third mortgages, student loans in addition to that. And student loans are not forgivable. Those don't go away. You've got to die for that to disappear.
I heard it's the number one asset, the number one government, the government's number one asset is student loans.
1.23 trillion, something like that.
Isn't that crazy? And what do these colleges have to do? Do they have to guarantee a job? Nope. Right? What's interesting is trade schools have to guarantee placement. They have to meet certain placement rates. But four-year colleges, especially private schools, have zero criteria. So they can create any degree they want and pretend that there's an industry for it and sell your kid on it. And then who's left paying the bill while their faculty that can't be fired gets paid 3 to 4 times more than what they're actually worth? Like, it's disgusting. And it's just all part of the theft of the American dream.
Absolutely.
I believe that amongst it, and on top of that, I believe that credit card companies are clearly, there's an agenda there to keep America in so much debt and stress that we genuinely become slaves into the treadmill and the rat race and the hamster wheel, all the different analogies. I was speaking as a guest on a podcast earlier today, and the guy asked me, he's like, what are some of the things that couples are arguing about, and how do they avoid some of the issues around money and the stress and the strain on the marriage? And I said, what are the biggest problems that if a couple received $1 million, they would probably not argue with each other about that. They would probably jump and scream and say, yes, woohoo, we got $1 million. Where they're going to argue is how to spend it. And that's where we need to get into control, because we've been conditioned by ads and psychologists and masters of the human psyche to show us, oh, you need this product, you need this gadget, you need this gizmo. Oh, and you can get it for $99.95. You can only $19.95 and $24.95, and you got it. There's just every single, we're told, and then we see all these pictures and these ads of people having all this joy and happiness after they bought the product, and it's sad before they bought the product. It's all a game. It's all a psyop, if you will, to get you to part with your money for things that you don't really need, to impress people you don't really care about.
Right.
And I told them, I said, if couples and people, individuals would stop spending tomorrow's money today and start spending yesterday's money today, that would change. The whole thing would flip. We're so right now, we're so conditioned and programmed to spend tomorrow because, I'm doing really well. I'm making a ton of money. And we believe it's never going to stop. Everything's great. The economy's going well. This, that, and the other's happening. Everything's great. I'll just keep making money so we can keep getting into debt and we can keep those monthly payments. And because everything is going to, and then you lose your job and you fall and the house of cards falls and you're like, man, I screwed up. Yeah. Because you're buying stuff today with tomorrow's money. Stop. Start saving first. And my wife is I love her so much. And she said to me the other day, she said, sometimes this saving up for things first is really hard. I'm like, I know. She's like, but I would rather do that than be in debt. I'm like, thank you. Right. So we save up for stuff first and then we buy it. And I'm telling you, we still have money problems. We still have issues. I still have stress. I still have things, but that's a way better. I feel way more confident and way more stress-free when I buy things with money I already have.
Here's how different I am than you, Paris.
All right, go.
I have 3 times my normal amount in my checking account and savings account than I normally do. And I'm in panic mode because I need to get it out of my bank because I, A, don't trust my bank. B, know that the longer my dollar's in my bank, the less it's valued. Right? I need to move it into something tangible, gold and silver, right? Or more food storage. Like I'm in panic mode because I'm like, oh, there's too much in the bank. Where you would probably look at that and go, there's not enough in the bank. I need to have that security, right?
Well, I do have a balance, but I do have high yield savings accounts. You're right.
But I'm like, ooh, panic, anxiety, get the money out, not spend it on like just whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, oh, vacation mode. Oh, let's buy a new car. Oh, like, no, right. I'm just like, I got to move those assets somewhere safe. I got food storage and gold and silver. Like, I'm just like, oh, there's too much in the bank. And Shane's probably like, you still use a bank? What's wrong with you, Scott?
Yeah, you fortunately got to use a bank, unfortunately. But yeah, be your own bank. And we didn't really talk about solutions, how to fix these problems for ourselves. So like I said, these problems really can't be fixed until things collapse. And that's why we've labeled this appropriately, right? That we're in big trouble. But there are things that each of us can do to prepare for the final outcome of all these of this list, right? And maybe we should talk about that next time, go over that entire list, because obviously we're out of time now, but we should have taken an entire hour to really talk about the solutions, because there are things we can each do individually that'll make a big difference.
Yeah. I definitely think we need to learn how to stand on our own more and more. We need to go back to the skills our forefathers had. We need to look to the past and start living that way to endure long enough to see the future. Homesteading, raising our own meat animals, gardening, growing food that we eat. And that's another one of the problems that's on the list we haven't even talked about, is how poorly enriched the soil is. So we need to get our buddy J.R. Hendry back on and talk about his miracle methods of actually creating better fertilizer that's actually natural, right? We should probably get him on for another episode. I'm still waiting for him to drop his book. I'm looking at you, J.R. Hendry. When are you dropping your book? Guys, thanks for being on the live tonight. This has been awesome. Your comments are fantastic. So many of them are so on point. We appreciate you guys for being part of it. We see some new faces, and we also see some faces that we haven't seen in a while. Thank you for being part of the solution and not part of the problem. Thank you for having a ready-minded way of living, and for really, really, really striving to live free and become sovereign. You guys have been listening to Prepper Talk Radio. We are radio for the ready-minded. If you want to support the show, head on over to preppertalkradio.com. Follow us on every platform. Check out our resources page. We've got a lot of cool stuff for you. but also head on over to our friends over at survivalfrog.com. They got some tasty stuff you can eat. They got beef, they got chicken, they got ground beef and roast beef, and you can buy it, and it's got a 25-year shelf life, and you can get 10% off using the code Prepper Talk 10. You guys have a great night. Thanks for tuning in and not tuning out. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Take care.
See you
guys.
next week.